Good morning, Michael Mazarang here again, and today we're visiting a home in Cabarrus County. This home was recently purchased. One of the real estate agents that we work with quite frequently referred us to the job, and I was asked to do an inspection on this home based on what was reported in an inspection report. And that's what's driving the current project that is in production. This home is an old tri-level style construction, and it is a full crawl space, believe it or not. And it has two separate compartments, and we'll look at that here in a minute. This home has been really well maintained. It is dated inside, and the renovations will be occurring concurrently with our crawl space project. As you can see in the front here, we've got a lot of old bushes, so I've recommended to the homeowner to basically tear out all these old bushes and replace them with smaller plants and some rocky hardscapes. All these downspouts should be extended out past the sidewalk with a buried piping system to get the water away from the structure. It's a beautiful piece of property here in the rural part of Cabarrus County, and certainly a wonderful opportunity to not only document the installation, but to view some pretty spots out here. Walking around the house, we can see the color of the brick is very pretty. The house is well built, and we're going to go back to where the two crawl spaces are. Here on the back side of the house, the same issues. A lot of old plants surrounding this deck, and of course the rear entries here for the crawl space. We have a crawl space door here between these two plants, so certainly cutting these plants out will improve access. The other access is up underneath the deck, and we're gonna visit that crawl space first. This house was built in the late 70s, and pretty typical of construction during this era. It is a traditionally stick-built type of a framing structure. We have 8x16 CMU piers with a drop girder system. It is a double 2x8 that has been installed, which is the main load-bearing position for the floor system. There are two drop girders that span left to right. With this crawl space, we did have a significant amount of mold, and we've also removed the majority of the ductwork. And a lot of these projects, you'll see companies try to clean mold and do structural framing repairs with the ductwork in the way, and it's really self-defeating. The crews get in there and they damage the old ductwork. The old ductwork is leaking in any way, so it's often very proactive. Is go ahead and pull the ductwork, open up the work area so that you can get in here and work properly and safely. So we can see here the crew has pulled the ductwork, and we were asked to address a certain framing issue here. This is a tri-level, and in this area here we've noted some damaged floor joists that were cut for the ductwork, and that's created a deflection problem here. As you can see right there, the stairs going upstairs to the second floor are settling, and so what we found is that when this trunk line was installed, the floor joists were cut. And you'll often see this with tri-level construction. So we're going to pull all this out, and we're going to reframe these cut joists with equal members, add a couple of crawl space piers here, and put a drop girder in here perpendicular to the floor system so that we can pick the stairs back up. We noted that there's a couple inches of deflection noted. It was in the inspection report. So this will address that specific item. So when you're buying an old home like this, it's important to have a full inspection, look at the utilities, look at the ductwork, as well as the framing members. certainly, based on this being a 2x8 ply, it certainly wouldn't hurt to add a third ply to this drop girder. Something that we'll consider as we develop through this project. We do have a budget that we have been given, so what we're going to do is prioritize each one of these items appropriately to make sure that we can stay inside this budget. Most importantly, we're going to keep the scope of services inside the general guidelines of North Carolina Building Code. You know, the two compartments do create certain ventilation challenges, so we will make some recommendations as far as ventilation for this old crawl space and to keep things healthy down here. But the main goal is to fix the structural deficiencies, get the trash out of here, which the guys have already done, as well as deploying a good remediation program to get rid of the mold. And then we'll install a new vapor barrier, and hopefully there'll be room in the budget to do some moisture control and really do a good fine-tuning of this crawl space. The second crawl space is on the other side of this foundation wall. On the other side, the guys are in there at the moment doing a crawl clean out. But we're going to hopefully be able to utilize a controlled ventilation program to connect these two spaces and deport air from one side of the crawl space to the other would be my primary preference if we're going to do a moisture control program. So that will be in development. So we'll come back here again tomorrow and the following day to see progress on this project. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you here shortly for stage 2. Thank you. We're inside the second crawl space, and you can see the guys are removing a good portion of the ductwork, as well as removing the subfloor insulation. They are wearing safety equipment. Often on these deployments, they wear full chemical suits and respirators when pulling the insulation. You can see here, this insulation is sandwiched between the subfloor and the joist. They did that many years ago, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult to pull it out. But we're moving this insulation so that we can get at the mold more effectively, and that will be done in stage 2. You can see here in some of these spots it's quite advanced, so we've got our work cut out for us, and the guys will be starting the mold remediation here in a few hours. And we'll stop back here once that's completed as we move to the next stage of the project. And it's kind of hard to crawl into this spot, but you can see here we've added 2 new 8x16 CMU piers built on 24 by 24 by 8-inch footings. This side here is a little bit clearer, and you can see the challenges we had to deal with this old metal ductwork. The return is right here, and you'll see here the second CMU pier as we get this ready for our drop girder. Here we are after the 4th day of production. Things are moving pretty well on this project. The guys have already installed the vapor barrier, and we've also re-insulated the subfloor. Note that the mold has been completely treated and removed, and we will get third-party clearance for this as well. That's in progress. The ductwork still has not been reinstalled as they finish up the remainder of the structural modifications, and we'll see here both of these drop girder lines were double 2x8s. Should have been triples. So we have added an extra ply on each one of these drop girders going left to right, and that's going to make these floors perform much better. And the progress on the most important issue here, the installation of our 2 CMU piers, and we're deploying a piece of structural steel directly underneath the stairwell. Note here the dunnage that the crews use to jack the steel into place. We still have some blocking to add and final placement. Also have some utilities here that will have to be rerouted. But you can see conceptually here, by doing these 8x16 CMU piers with this 5-inch I-beam, and once we get this incorporated into the floor system, this is going to enable us to jack the floor system back into position. And it's been this way for almost 50 years. So a flaw that was here at the beginning of construction, we're able to address for this new homeowner. And I'll go ahead and crawl to the other side so you can see over there. Here you can see the immense problem we had to cut away some of the ductwork, the main trunk line, so that we could get the system in, as well as adding some plies here to restore what was cut originally with this trunk line and the return, which goes to the first floor. So this will all be repaired once we're done, and again the steel will be jacked and shimmed up into the floor system, pressure treated blocking and metal shims added to make this right and restore all this ductwork. But again, here you see now we have a triple drop girder, which is going to perform much better for future performance of the floor system. And certainly going with the white 10 mil contractor class vapor barrier certainly will make this look a lot better for future inspections. We currently are going to continue to ventilate with the outside air, and due to budgetary constraints, we were not able to do the long-term moisture program, but we will do that in a stage 2 in a few months. And we're in the second crawl space compartment. Again, the vapor barrier has been installed, the subfloor re-insulated. Of course, the mold has been cleaned. We've added another ply to this drop girder, and also we're going to, in the future, do a combined moisture control program here, where we're going to put an Atmox system on this house. We're going to have to put an 8-inch hole through the curtain wall to run a duct kit with a pipe fan, and we're going to deploy a full Atmox system with a dehumidifier backup. The dehumidifier will go in the other crawl space and will port air from the main crawl space over to this side. And that's how you're able to condition 2 separate crawl space compartments instead of using a second dehumidifier, which would be a waste of energy and, quite frankly, stupid. So we like to deploy protocols that make sense. Not to mention, we're going to have all this ductwork put back. There's going to be a lot of dead pockets in here. So we definitely want the long-term health of this crawl space to be perfect to support the monies that this new homeowner spent for the structural improvements, as well as getting all the mold cleaned out and all that. We want to make sure that the same process doesn't happen again. So I'll come back one more time with the final product for a brief close, but I think you get the general idea here. We don't kid around with this kind of stuff, and we certainly follow procedures to the T, stay under the building code. This house will stay under vented code, of course, and when we run across these situations, you know, we work with licensed engineers, licensed mold hygienists to come up with these protocols, and we certainly are very supportive of third-party oversight. We've never failed an inspection, and we certainly don't plan on doing so. So we'll see you here for the closeout, and that'll be in the next couple of days. Here we are on the last day of work, and the crew has successfully jacked and shimmed the stairwell back into position, and you can see here the metal shims that they added, as well as some of the blocking under the floor joists to get the performance where we want it to be. Also, the ductwork has been patched and repaired to full functionality. Here's the other side of the drop girder. All this ductwork was also repaired. We've run new flex ducting here and tied into the old trunk line. And we can see here the final liner installation, and the guys did a really nice job of cleaning this all up. The vents are open as we prepare for stage 2 in a few months, and we will do a moisture control program, but floor system is, you know, spotless. It's clean, new insulation, new ductwork, and the HVAC system is running today. It's restored. But yeah, this turned out really well. And we'll go over to the other crawl space for the final shot here, but this cleaned up really well. And this is the second crawl space. Again, all the ductwork has been repaired, and final cleanup on the liner performed. This turned out quite nicely, and the repairs to the drop girder lines, all the drop girders on this old house are now triples, and HVAC ductwork fully restored. The system is running now today. It's quite comfortable in here, and the guys did a really good job. Again, no mold, the insulation reinstalled, vapor barrier installed, all structural modifications completed. If you have any questions about old houses, doing structural modifications on these old tri-levels, building CMU piers, doing custom drop girders, industrial mold cleaning services, moisture control, dehumidification, encapsulations, or just staying under vented code, we certainly offer these options and have great success with our clients, and we'd love to hear from you. And you can contact us at the number at the bottom of your screen, or you can visit our website and communicate with us that way. But again, I hope you've enjoyed this installation. It's been documented really well, so hopefully you'll learn more about structural repairs inside crawl spaces, and we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. Again, this is Michael Mazarang, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care. Have a great day.